Hi guys, on the 8th anniversary of the Brexit vote, Rishi Sunak, who campaigned to leave, put out a message that Brexit has been a success and that it was a good idea to exit the EU. I really don't see the sense in this, as there are many businesses that have suffered the consequences of being outside the single market, be it importers or exporters. But because Rishi is a Brexiteer, he has to convince the public and perhaps himself that either nothing has changed or that trade is actually up. And it is, if you cherry-pick the data. However, Ed Conway from Sky News was on hand to debunk the Prime Minister's narrative.
Despite Brexit, he said, look, it's no wonder that Brexit Britain has leapt above France, Japan and the Netherlands to become the world's fourth biggest exporter. It's big news here. The Prime Minister's talked about it, his Trade Secretary has talked about it a lot, and it left me wondering, do the numbers actually stack up? Okay, so I looked at the very data set they were talking about. This is showing you the ranking across the world of different countries by how much they're exporting in goods and services. Services are important here because the UK is a big services powerhouse, things like financial services and so on. Look, we were down in 7th place in 2021. Now look at 2022, and it's true. We leapt up above France and the Netherlands into 4th place. Fantastic news, but it did get me wondering, what happened, if that's 2021 and 2022, what happened in 2020? So I looked up the numbers, and here's what I found. Actually, in 2020, we were in 4th place. And that again posed another question. Are we often in 4th place? Is it not actually something new? So I went back and looked at the rankings. And again, this line's just showing you where we're ranked in the overall ratings here for world trade. And we were 4th biggest, obviously, you heard about that in 2022. 4th biggest in 2020, I just showed you that. But also, we were 4th biggest for quite a long period over here. In fact, when you look back over the past decade and work out our average position in a modal way, we were 4th. So there is nothing new about it. We were 4th before Brexit, and we bounced around to be 4th recently. But I did wonder about one thing, okay. Over here, what happened here in 2021? Why did we fall quite so much? That was the biggest we fell ever. Was it down to Brexit? Was it down to something else? And what I found is quite interesting. The background here is the UK is a big importer and exporter of gold. We're not actually kind of mining it here. We're just bringing it in and sending it out. It's part of our financial system, but it does distort our trade figures. And actually, there was quite a lot going on with gold recently. This is showing you the total amount of exports from the UK of gold. And look what's something pretty striking here. Very high in 2022, very low in 2021. Which left me wondering, is that what accounts for our leapfrogging? Is it down to gold rather than our actual trade performance? Well, I incorporated those numbers into those rankings you saw a moment ago, okay? That was record flows of gold in 2020, 22 rather. That is the numbers you just saw before, including gold, okay? These rankings do include gold. If you adjust them and exclude gold, here's how it looks. Suddenly, we were not 4th, we're 6th. And actually in 2020, we were not 4th either, we were 5th. And in fact, the last few years, we've been considerably worse if you adjust for gold than we were before. It just underlines that with a lot of these statistics, the more you dig into them, the more, let's say, nuanced the reality is.
Nuanced, I like the language here. It would be nice to see the same data if we stripped out gas and oil, for example. And what about services? Because services have been less impacted by Brexit. We know that. So what you obviously have here is Brexiteers like Rishi Sunak being dishonest. Why is he being dishonest? Why isn't he actually explaining the situation as it really is? Well, because he needs to protect his narrative of, well, it was a good idea to leave the European Union. As I said, if we take out services, oil and gas and gold, it would be nice to see that data. And obviously we know it's down. It has to be down if you also factor in inflation, because if you put up barriers to trade, it's going to drive up the cost of trade. It's going to drive down trade. Now, if you want to grow the economy, how are you going to get around this problem? Because you can't rely just on gold exchanges. You can't rely on gas and oil. You have to actually build stuff. You actually have to manufacture stuff. And you have to get stuff into the country, and you have to get stuff out of the country. And with these barriers to trade, it's going to be very difficult. So going forward for the Conservatives, if they win power, they're going to have to fix this. And going forward, if the Labour Party win power, they're going to have to fix this. What you need to do is you need to reduce these barriers to trade. You can't rely just on services, and you can't rely on gas and oil and gold. You have to start manufacturing. They're where the real jobs are, not in the City of London or in oil and gas extraction. You actually have to start manufacturing again. And that requires public investment. That requires building infrastructure. That requires attracting investment. And at the moment, there doesn't seem to be any appetite for that. We keep coming back to this problem with Brexit. It was sold as an idea that would increase trade, grow the economy. But instead it's doing the opposite. And it's surrounded by this dishonesty, about fibbing. Let's not present the public with the reality. Let's present them with a cherry-picked reality or a distorted one. And while people are looking around and saying, well, the situation has not improved since 2016 or since 2020 or 2021, it's becoming more and more difficult to pull the wool over people's eyes. But eventually, someone is going to have to come out and be honest about this. Maybe it will be the Labour Party, maybe it will be somebody else. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.